It's a wonderful camera, excellent image quality, a joy to use, but it's not state of the art. The $3,000 price tag, while it seems high, it's lower than its competitors, but its performance, I'd say, in autofocus especially, is lower as well. So, it's a tough thing. If you want to pay $900 more for that Canon R5, you're going to get $900 worth of autofocus improvements there. I personally would rather pay the extra $900 and have the excellent autofocus.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder. Ooh, I wonder.
Hey there. Welcome back to my channel here on YouTube. I'm Steve Mathis, and today I'm going to do a field test review of the Nikon Z7ii. I already did a review of the Z6ii, which I'm filming with right now. If you haven't seen that, check that out. A lot of that's going to be similar. So if you've watched the Z6ii review, you're going to hear a lot of the same things I have to say about the Z7ii. So I apologize that you're going to have to hear it twice. But let's just go dive right into it real quick. I'm going to do a quick summary. I'm going to talk about what I like about it. I'm going to compare it to a D850. I'm going to talk about what I don't like about it. I'm going to run over a few images that I've made and talk about some things that I'd like to see Nikon improve. And it's not going to go by that fast because I tend to ramble on. So anyway, thanks for following along. Let's get started with my standard disclaimer about these reviews. This is my opinion, and I spend a lot of time shooting and using these cameras, so it's a reasonably well-informed opinion, but it is still just that, an opinion. And everybody shoots differently, and everybody has different likes and different dislikes. So I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like, in my opinion. Yours will be different. So no need to freak out about that. We're all different. We all have different needs and different ways we like to shoot. So take this information, compile it in your head, look at other reviews, try and decide if the camera is right for you or wrong for you. And hopefully I'm going to help you make an informed decision about your camera purchasing. So let's get right out of the gate and talk about expectations. Now, this camera is a $3,000 camera, so pretty expensive, but I'd say its main competitor in the mirrorless world is probably the Canon R5, well, absolutely is, and the A7R4, so high megapixel mirrorless bodies. This is the least expensive of those three. And so I would honestly expect it to probably be the least performing of the three, just based on price. So my expectations aren't that this is the best camera ever made, and also that it's not the worst, because while $3,000 is a lot compared to the competition, it's the lowest. So D850 is a highly comparable camera. Obviously, DSLR versus mirrorless is the big thing there. I'm going to talk more about that direct comparison a little bit later on. I have my laptop here to help me remember stuff because I'm getting old, losing my hair, growing a beard, forgetting stuff, so I got to write stuff down. So the big question is, can a camera do what you need it to do? And with this camera, I'd say, yeah, most of the time. And that's not the answer I want to be giving you. That's not the answer I want either, but that's the truthful answer, is that most of the time, yes, it'll do what I want it to do, and it's wonderful, and it's a joy to use. Most situations, this thing works excellent. It's a really good upgrade from the Z7, the original Z7. A lot of small improvements, but nothing groundbreaking happening with this camera at all. It's not pushing any boundaries. It's not doing anything better than anything else out there on the market. So that's kind of the bad news. The good news is It's an excellent camera, and what's going on in the market right now, it's so amazing that we can take what I consider kind of a non-groundbreaking camera, and it's excellent. It's not pushing any new boundaries with image quality, sensor resolution, dynamic range, autofocus performance. It's just not setting any new kind of stuff. Like when the D850 came out, that thing was like, oh, it was fantastic. This is not generating those kind of feelings for me. The Canon R5, I used extensively in the field last week in Yellowstone. That autofocus system makes me go, oh, this doesn't do that. But I can make the images I need to make with this camera in most situations. There's been a couple of times where it doesn't. So that's kind of the bottom line. It's going to be in my bag. I'm going to use it daily, and it's wonderful to use. I love that now we have a vertical grip option. I love shooting vertical a lot, so I use this a lot. It's nice to have double the battery capacity in there. Buffer is way bigger. It was the Z7, the original one. The buffer was terrible, really small. Like you could buffer out in no time. This thing has a really good buffer. I can just shoot. I mean, it's not endless, but it can go and go and go and go. So it has a completely usable buffer for sports action wildlife, much improved over the Z7, and I love that. There are definitely autofocus and usability improvements in this versus the original Z7. Everything's just a little bit quicker, a little bit snappier, turning it on. Autofocus performance, you can tell it's improved. It's not, if you're expecting it to be R5 or Sony A9 level, you're going to be disappointed. If you're expecting D850 level performance, it's going to beat that performance in some aspects, and I think it's going to not be as good in other respects, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you want mirrorless, for the advantages of mirrorless, which I particularly enjoy mirrorless, I like it. I feel it has some good advantages that are worthy of upgrading. This will be, if you're a D850 shooter, this would be kind of the logical way to go. The image quality is excellent. It always has been on the original Z7. This isn't anything different than that. I don't think that needed improvement. Some improvement there would be great, but I haven't noticed any improvement in image quality, but it's excellent, and it's as good as anything else on the market right now, so no problem there. Cold weather performance, weather sealing. I've had this out in rain, in snow, in minus 25 Fahrenheit, in heat and humidity. It's worked flawlessly, so excellent for people out in the field needing a camera that can withstand some weather and abuse out there. I like that I can charge it via USB while I'm driving down the road between locations. I can just plug it in and top off the batteries while I'm moving around out there. That's pretty nice. There's a few things that I don't like. Then one of those is apparently this little rubber gasket. There we go. Didn't want to work. The screen, it's a tilty. It tilts that way and it tilts that way. And that's it. I would prefer one that I can flip around and tilt, out this way or that way. And this just doesn't give me quite as much flexibility as I would prefer. Memory card door. This thing opens all the time. Pulling it in and out of the bag, like grabbing it, just rubbing it the wrong way. This door just pops open. It's like, you can just, a million different ways this thing can pop open, and it does all the time. So that's pretty annoying. Nikon's got to do something about that, because it's just, you rub it on something and bang, it opens right up. So that's a problem. Big deal, but annoying, whatever. Everything else on my list is autofocus dislikes. So I'll jump into just go into the autofocus rant, because the autofocus it doesn't just work. Like, that R5, the autofocus just works. It's amazing. Even the D850, it just works. This one, I really have a hard time understanding it. And in single point autofocus, it just works. In the dynamic mode, it almost just works with a couple of little exceptions. And then, the fancy modes that are, like the R5 has, like Sony has, the zones and the tracking and the eye tracking and all that stuff. It's inconsistent. Now, it's really good when it works, but occasionally it just doesn't work. And it's very bizarre. I've been in contact with Nikon about it. They're looking through some of my images and haven't had a chance to hear back from them yet. But it's kind of frustrating. But shooting, like if I have to make a shot, I'll just flip it to single point and make it like bang, and it'll nail it. I know it'll work. But, like birds in flight is tough with single point. I found birds in flight to actually work really well using just the auto area and the wide area. And it tracks them really well, and it works great 95% of the time. Maybe more. But then just every once in a while, it just misses a little bit. Unexplainable, because it tracks really well and it works great, and then all of a sudden it just goes like, I don't know what's going on. So it freaks out once in a while. It's just a little bit inconsistent. The animal eye autofocus, while it sounds great in theory, it only is supposed to work on cats and dogs, according to Nikon. So if you're a dog shooter, great. Like I've tried it on my dogs, and it works great when they're like hanging out. But if they're out running or jumping or, doing anything where they're active or movement, forget it. It just won't track them. It'll be like, if they're coming at me, it'll show the little eye boxes on their eyes like it's tracking them, but then the focus is on their tail or their shoulders or something. It just can't seem to keep up in animal tracking mode. And it doesn't work on wildlife. So no elk, no deer, no moose, no otters, whatever. So way behind some of the other companies in that regard on the autofocus. But if I need to nail it, I can just go into single point, bang, and it's going to find that focus. It's going to be really quick. It's going to be super accurate, and it's going to nail it. So if you want the fancy modes, they don't have it yet that works really well. Nikon's working on it, of course. They're continually developing their firmware. But it's not there yet. Man, I rambled on about that a long time, didn't I? Sorry about that. Let me keep going. Let's do a quick comparison to the Nikon D850. Image sensor is basically the same. Very similar results come from the camera. Those results are excellent. So nothing to complain about there. Also nothing to like swoon over. Nothing groundbreaking happening. So don't expect better image quality than a D850, but expect excellent image quality like a D850. This has basically the same frame rate. On the D850 with a vertical grip and the battery, you can get 9 frames per second. This, while they advertise higher than that, 9 I think is the highest you're going to get. I forget the exact requirements to get 9 frames per second out of this camera. You have to be in continuous high extended. You have to be in single point autofocus, and I think 14-bit RAW. So frame rate is very similar. Don't expect a faster frame rate. Buffer seems excellent. The D850, I can buffer that thing out, but it has a pretty deep buffer. I haven't done a side-by-side test. That probably would have been smart, wouldn't it? Sorry. But in my practical experience, I would actually say that this might be a little bit better in buffer than the D850. Anyway, I bet they're very similar. This is totally usable now. The Z7 had a very small buffer. No good. Ergonomics are great. The one thing that the D850 has that this doesn't, which I just don't understand at Nikon, there's a button right there for back button. You allow us to back button focus with this button on the D850 and the D5 and the D500, but not on mirrorless. So on this camera, we only have one back button autofocus. On the others, we can have 2 different autofocus modes. Bang, bang, just like that. And it's even more important in this camera to have that because the autofocus modes are way more specific in what they're used for. And so having two back button focus modes there would be awesome, and I don't understand why they're not doing it. Of course, you can do it on Sony. Of course, you can do it on Canon. You can do it on the Nikon DSLRs, but you can't do it on Nikon mirrorless. So, not cool. But that's a big deal to me. Maybe it's not a big deal to you. Okay? So, in all honesty, the autofocus performance, I would say, between the D850 and this is very comparable. If you're shooting portraits, if you're shooting people regularly, I'd say the Z7 II is a better choice for you because of the eye autofocus, and it works great. I've shot it with my kids extensively, and it just works, and it's wonderful. And it makes composition easy because you have the whole screen is filled with autofocus points, or the whole sensor is filled with autofocus points. You can frame whatever you want in that, and once it picks up those eyes, you can put the eyes up in that corner, whatever. It's going to find them, and it's going to work great. So, in that sense, this is a better autofocusing camera than the D850. Most other situations, I'd say it's going to be very comparable. This, I would say, would probably be more accurate. I feel like fine-tuning lenses on a DSLR to get the absolute best focus you can get was kind of a pain in the butt. And I don't find that I need to do that on these Z cameras like I'd had to on the DSLR, the D850s. They just seem to be much more accurate right out of the box. So the only time I would say the D850 might have an advantage in the autofocus is in fast action. And they're working on firmware on this. I know they are. They've told me that. And it's obvious that they are. They developed the Z7 and the Z6 as well. So I would expect this to improve and get better. But even right now, the way it is, I'd say it's really close. If you're shooting like the group area mode on the D850 on birds in flight is like magic. It's excellent. This probably isn't quite that good, but it's darn close. And if you're putting it single point, it's going to hit and track whatever you want it to. So I don't know. I would recommend this camera to almost everybody. If all you shoot is sports, action, wildlife, there are better options out there than this camera. I shoot a lot of landscape and sports, action, wildlife, and my kids. Super versatile. It does all of those things excellent. Sports, action, wildlife, it's good enough, but you can do better. That's my opinion. I'll show you a few images here. If you haven't watched it, my first day with the Z7 II, I put out a video 2 videos ago where I was out in the field shooting some river otters and made some really nice images out there on day 1 and was able to hit these otters in cluttery conditions and in like super clean, lovely conditions, like, with a lot of snow. But these otters move fast and they're on ripply water. And so not falling snow, not an easy task for any camera and any autofocus system, but this did remarkably well. So, if it can do this stuff for me, that's really all I need. Having, that cool animal eye autofocus of the R5 is great, and it can help ease your workload, your mental workload, in terms of framing the composition and moving focus points around and stuff. And that's awesome. And I would love to have that. And I hope Nikon's working on that. But I can still shoot what I need to shoot out there, and it works great. Here's just a couple of images of my kids. That's my daughter Vivian. We were just out having a snowball fight, and I ran out there and snapped a few photos. I shot them a lot with the camera, and it works great. The eye autofocus just finds them, and it works. Sigmund throwing some snowballs. Now here's a frame that you see snow now has gotten in front of his face. Part of that snowball as it fell apart. That was a pretty weak snowball effort, I have to say. But the snowball fell apart. Now there's snow in front of his face, and the camera's tracking the snow now instead of his eyeball, which is a little weird. I wouldn't expect that. I think that's a problem. But then it gets right back onto him. No problem there. it can find him behind a snowbank and just lock right onto his eyes. This was just in full auto mode, all of those with the kids. Just auto with face tracking on and eye tracking. And it does a really great job. He got hit in the eye with a snowball. Shocking, right? But anyway, it just works, and it works great. I wish it worked this way on wildlife too, but it doesn't. Here's a desert bighorn sheep, and you know, the whole scene is just kind of the same color and the same texture. I can just, you know, put the single point on him, bang, snaps on him. It's a piece of cake. Very easy to get this in focus and make these photos. And now we're on to something that's harder on the camera to figure out. This is a backlit gull of some kind. I'm sorry, I didn't research what type of gull this was. But the original Z cameras really struggled with backlight, and while these I still think aren't as good in backlit situations as they are in frontlit, I'll show you here, it still does a remarkable job. The old Z would have absolutely failed in this. So here's a burst eye shot of this gull backlit in flight, and let's just look at him. It looks like it caught perfect focus there. Yes, 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 yes. Now it loses it just a little bit out, so it got a little bit soft there for 3 frames. Now it's back on him. Yes, 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 yes. And now it missed another one there, and then it's back on him, and now it falls out for a minute. Another frame, and now it's back on him again, and now it really goes out. Now it lost him. Now that I kind of panned up, now I've got the mountains and the sky and the bird. It kind of seemed to freak the autofocus out there for a second. So it missed, and now it's back on him for the last frame. It's I'd say pretty darn good, and that's just in full auto, not single point. And I think it would have done better, obviously, if I had used a wide area large to kind of pin that down, that area a little bit tighter on what it should focus on, or the dynamic area. I think both of those would have performed better. So I'm happy with that. Here comes a tern flying in. I believe this was the wide area large mode, and this tern is pretty dark. This tern's flying kind of sideways. Another burst there, bang, 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 bang. It hit every one of those, perfect focus. Another incoming gull, this time with just a plain blue background, which should be really easy for the camera to track in. First frame, you can see, yes, it hit it, yes, yes. Then it missed, yes, miss, yes. So to me, you know, that's an even easier situation than the other gull, and it had a higher percentage of misses. So that's a situation where being in full auto probably wasn't the right mode to be in there. I should have been in a wide area or a dynamic, or it's just something wrong with the autofocus. Could be. So that was the first batch with the gulls, the long one where just a few of them were out of focus. That is what I'd say is representative of what the camera will do. Most of the time it's going to hit it, and then it's going to miss a couple here and there. This last gull, I'd say, was a bit of an anomaly, and I don't know why, where it missed maybe 40% of those. That's an anomaly. And here's another anomaly. This is a pelican, a white pelican, just cruising along very slowly in single point. I had the single point right on his head, and I fired a burst of 4 images there. It's slightly out of focus, even more slightly out of focus. Then it hits it perfect for the last 2 frames. So 2 out of the 4 were sharp. And this is something that isn't moving, single point on the bird, no excuse. I don't know what's going on there. This was an anomaly. Most of the time when I shoot that burst, they're all perfect. So I've sent those to Nikon. They're taking a look at those. Another pelican in flight, nails it, no problem. Another tern coming in, this time with some clouds behind it. In focus, every one of them. Yes, 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 yes. It hits every single one of these, and they're all great. Same with this last group of a different gull coming in. this is pretty representative too. It hit. That whole burst, they were all in focus. So there's some weird glitches there where sometimes it just doesn't quite work right, but most of the time it does, and that's kind of frustrating. Here's some kind of a bunny in Joshua Tree National Park. I thought he was cute, so I shot it with a 30 millimeter lens. This was in autofocus mode. I had the camera sitting on the ground with the screen tilted up, and the camera found the bunny and focused on him, and it turned out to be a pretty cool photo. Just a representative. This is Ruby, my dog, and this kind of stuff is wonderful for the animal eye autofocus, where if she's just kind of hanging out, moving around slowly, it does a really good job with those. Then I tried this type of thing with my dogs, with both of them, with pretty bad results. Well, no, terrible results. Let's just say it. With animal eye autofocus on, tracking, them coming at me, this is representative of what I could consistently get with them with the animal eye autofocus on. You can see in this burst of her running through the snow at me, it's out of focus, out of focus, out of focus, missed. One of those hit. So out of that whole series, I'd say one of them came pretty close to a hit, but otherwise it misses all of them. And if I'm using single point or dynamic, I can reverse that to where it's going to hit most of them and miss occasionally. But if the animal eye autofocus is there, it should be usable, and it's not usable at this point. Some bison in Yellowstone, just wonderful image here. I mean, easy. This is just walking slowly at me. It's going to hit that. It's going to be able to focus on it, no problem. Just beautiful, lovely image quality out there with these bison. A coyote in Yellowstone is just, it's going to hit these kind of situations every time, no worries. So there's some images to look at, and some of the stuff I've been testing on this. Some of those are good images. Some of them are just test images where I'm trying things out and trying to learn and understand the camera. So I hope those are helpful to look at. The bottom line on the autofocus is just I wish it was more consistent. And, having the fancy eye autofocus and stuff like some of the competitors would be great. And Nikon better figure that out. But the camera can still do what I need it to do, except for these little inconsistencies. So there's something weird going on there. All right, video. I don't have a whole lot to say about video. It works great for me. I shoot videos for my YouTube channel. So I don't have like super fancy requirements. This has 4K 60p, which is kind of nice. Huge file sizes, so I won't use it very much, but that'll be kind of nice. But I just am not a demanding video user, so it's certainly excellent for me. I love being able to run and gun in the field and shoot handheld video through the viewfinder and have it look good enough, for YouTube. So the autofocus works great. I can track subjects in video. So for video, it seems to work excellent for my needs. Your needs may vary. If you're a hardcore video shooter, I'm not the guy to be watching a review of this camera for you. There are better people for that. Okay, so with that, just closing thoughts here. It's a wonderful camera, excellent image quality, a joy to use, but it's not state-of-the-art. The $3,000 price tag, while it seems high, it's lower than its competitors, but its performance, I'd say, in autofocus especially, is lower as well. So, it's a tough thing. If you want to pay $900 more for that Canon R5, you're going to get $900 worth of autofocus improvements there. I personally would rather pay the extra $900 and have the excellent autofocus. But for the moment, this is doing great, and I'm excited to see what Nikon's going to do with their continuing development of it. I can still make the images I need, but it would be nice to just have that autofocus that just does a little more of the work for you. So, you know, if I have less mental capacity that I need to devote to focusing, you know, that takes away from my ability to see and compose and anticipate and those kind of things. So, you know, all of us, especially me, have kind of limited capacity in all the things we're trying to do out there. So, you know, using technology to lighten the mental load, I think is a great thing. And it'll get there. But for the moment now, I just have to give it that extra thought of the autofocus system here just isn't lightening my load as much as like an R5 would be. So, but I also have an extra $900 less on this camera. So you get what you pay for, right? I think that's fair. But I love Nikon. I just enjoy using this camera and the ergonomics, and I know it and understand it, and it just feels right in my hand. So I'm going to keep using it for now. And anyway, so I hope this is helpful to you. I know it was a lot of rambling, and I apologize, but I'm a rambler. And I'm a little bit kind of mushy about this camera because of some of the autofocus inconsistencies. I'd love to just give it a wholehearted, buy it, it's awesome! But I can't. So I'm rambling on about it because I can't just definitively say black or white. You need this camera, or no, this camera sucks. It's neither of those. So anyway, if you want to buy one, I'm going to have an Amazon link in the description below that is an affiliate link. So if you buy one, they send me a couple of bucks, and you could buy anything through that link, and they send me a couple of bucks. I'd appreciate that. And please subscribe to my channel if you're not already to see more of this type of stuff, and also more of out in the field vlogging type stuff, behind the scenes, making images out there. So appreciate your support, and I hope this was helpful to some of you. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.